And, Tom, there have been a lot of terrible reporters on the left-leaning media that have done an awful job promoting conspiracy theories here, Brian Stelter and that crowd. But there have been some on the left that have actually done their homework. I mean, Matt Taibbi, Glenn Greenwald in a little bit of trouble this week, but even T.A. Franks a bit at the Washington Post, who's kind of shown an interest. There have been some who understand, I think, what's going on here. But what I find the most interesting angle to this case is these were people, reporters, who supposedly years ago, were supposed to be fighting for the little guy and the truth and against big monopolies and government monoliths. And, this was the Erin Brockovich crowd. We're against the big corporations. And now all of a sudden you have this monolithic intelligence enterprise being run by John Brennan. We know was up to 6 different degrees of malfeasance, whether it was the Iran deal, spying on the Senate. I mean, these are facts. These are not conspiracy theories that have been reported even by left-leaning outlets, and they don't seem to care. And one of the big angles of this that I'd like to get your opinion on is one of the ongoing evergreen theories in my show, based on a whole lot of evidence, by the way, is although the FBI continued the spying operation on Trump after they know unquestionably that the dossier is a hoax, they know it no later than January 2017, I believe, and again, based on a solid pile of evidence, that the FBI was misled initially into starting this thing. And the reason I say that, and I'd love to hear your opinion, is Brennan has constantly lied to the American public, saying he hadn't seen the dossier till December. Well, we know that's not true because Brennan briefs Harry Reid up in the U.S. Senate in August, which is obviously before December. And the information Harry Reid sends on to the FBI to spur them on to investigating the Trump team in this letter is only information that appeared in the dossier conveniently after Brennan's briefing. So 2 and 2 don't fit together. And I'll just throw one more point on this. Again, on my general theory that Brennan misled the FBI through Harry Reid to start this. When Lisa Page, in what I believe is a rare moment of honesty up on Capitol Hill, is questioned about the use of Christopher Steele by potentially the CIA and Brennan, by Mark Meadows, Page seems genuinely confused. I mean, she really seems shocked. No, that's not possible. Steele was our guy. And Meadows is like, well, he was talking to multiple people. She's like, well, we don't know that. And she seems confused. Do you buy into that Brennan could have been the puppet master here and could have been using some of Steele's source network? And that's why he keeps lying about, I didn't see the dossier till December?
Well, I would take a step back further. I think it's curious, and we need to figure out who was operating prior to the opening Crossfire Hurricane, because remember, Page was targeted for spying in April, I think, of 2015 or 16, just a month after it was announced, long before Crossfire Hurricane. I think it goes, I call it the self-licking ice cream cone. You say the FBI was fooled. I think they were using their own sources or variations of their sources, like Misfud. Who knows who he was working for, but he was probably a Western intelligence asset. I think there's credible information there. Also, I have to say, it does come back to Hillary. I see Sidney Blumenthal, Cody Shear behind a lot of this, and it's just they're laundering and relaundering the information. When you look at the dossier, it had 1,000 fathers. You had it laundered through McCain. You had it laundered, as you point out. You've got the Brennan connections. You had it pushed indirectly through Halper, and obviously they were pushing it. Then on top of that, you had the State Department helping write portions of the dossier with Blumenthal, Shear, and Steele.
Tom, can you just quickly explain to the audience who Blumenthal and Shear are? Because some of them may not know, because this is an important point you're making here. Your point is that Hillary Clinton's fingerprints are on this, and Blumenthal, go ahead.
Yeah, this is a Blumenthal special. I'm convinced I think when all the evidence comes out, you'll see a Blumenthal special here. Sidney Blumenthal is a Clinton associate. He worked in the Clinton White House, a disreputable figure that even President Obama didn't want with Hillary Clinton at the State Department. So you'll see in her emails that you have these secret communications with Blumenthal that were so sensitive that when she forwarded them on, she made it clear she didn't want his name attached to the analyses he was providing. And it turns out he was involved with the Kerry State Department in pushing this Russiagate smear along the lines that Steele had. I don't think it was coincidental that Blumenthal was pushing the same story, according to Jonathan Weiner, who worked at the State Department and was like Steele's handler, practically speaking, he saw similarities between what Steele was saying and what Blumenthal was saying. That makes perfect sense because Steele was working for Clinton campaign in the DNC. They were all using the same sources. They were all using the same information. And it all comes back to the Clinton campaign brilliantly, in the sense they got the attention they wanted, creating this information to justify pretextually the FBI targeting Trump. And of course, the FBI was more than willing to use this information too, because Comey and McCabe and company hated Trump and were sympathetic to keeping Hillary in power or putting her back in power.
Folks, that's an absolutely critical point.
Another thing is you had President Obama involved in the campaign in a way that no incumbent president has been involved in a presidential campaign in 100 years. I want you to think back to recent history. Incumbent presidents weren't involved, practically speaking, in the political campaigns of their successors until Obama. Yeah, so he had a lot riding on keeping Hillary, putting Hillary in office. And so it helps explain the White House involvement. He wants to know everything. He was briefed on the dossier literally the day before Comey went to target Trump with that false flag operation, where he said he was going in there to brief him when in fact he was going in there to spy on him personally and directly.
I tell you, it gets to so many angles to this case. That's a fascinating one that's left underreported in my show, not elsewhere. But the Blumenthal Scheer angle, those are consigliaries of Hillary Clinton, folks. I'm glad Tom brought that up because I haven't spoken about that in a long time. Tom, exit question. You've been very generous with your time here. Again, we're talking to Tom Fitton. He's at Tom Fitton, Fitton on Twitter. Follow him. Pick up his book, please. Clean House. It's really great. Up at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. We'll put the link up, and go to judicialwatch.org. So we've seen some breaking news about Halper, who is the spy. You know, they love to play the euphemisms game, confidential human, so whatever. He was a spy, it's obvious, was spying for the FBI. And one of the stories Sarah Carter reported, and we've been covering for months now, Rowan Scarborough at the Washington Times has been all over this as well, is the Office of Net Assessments, which is an office within the Pentagon, apparently paid Halper upwards of $1 million in contracts. You know, I ask you this, and it may be slightly rhetorical, but I'm just kind of looking for your opinion on it. Do you think it's possible that U.S. taxpayer dollars were paying an intelligence asset, notably a spy, to spy on the opposition political campaign while the Obama administration was in power? Could this even have happened in the United States?
Oh, sure. We sued for the documents. We represent a whistleblower who was complaining about Halper's contracts. I mean, he thought something was up.
The one who's been, is it the one who's been attacked, by the way, and accused of all kinds of nonsense? Because Rowan's been reporting on that too.
Yeah, Mr. Levenger, he had his security clearance pulled because he was asking the wrong questions, it looks like to us. But look, the FBI was paying Steele. In 2016, we got the document. This is what bothers me about the IG. The IG whole process is such an abuse. They sat on this information for years, literally 2 years. The FBI met with Steele 13 times during the campaign. Our documents showed that they paid him 11 those times. Now we know the detail, tens of thousands of dollars. The FBI was paying Steele at the same time the Clinton campaign was paying Steele. It was a joint operation. So, I mean, yeah, your tax dollars were not only being used to spy on Trump, but they were also being used to pay the source that gave you the fraudulent information to spy on Trump. I don't know, you know, and what are we doing? And this is why the president's getting impeached, because he started asking questions about it.
Yeah,
he calls the Ukrainians up. What happened in 2016? What about the Clinton emails? What about Biden? And he gets impeached.
Tom, I got to tell you, I've known you for a long time. I've never seen you this pissed off. This is great. Well, I love this.
It takes me a while to get angry.
Well, it worked. We're 40 minutes in.
This is an outrage. He's being targeted. Yeah,
no, I agree with you, brother, 100%. Listen, it's a look squirrel thing. No, I know it always has been.